Hello and welcome back. So the last few videos have been of me in my frontier world, and if you've been watching them you've probably spotted that I'm having persistent problems with processing fluids. Basically I need to make a lot of plastic and my current refinery setup just doesn't work very well. So I've been in Sandbox in creative mode, having a play with designing some refinery setups from scratch. The aim was to be able to consume a single pipe's worth of oil and turn it entirely into petroleum. So I've gone through a few versions of this. I started off with something with a great big fluids bus at the bottom with 3 lines spiking up. One for refining, one for cracking the heavy, and one for cracking the light. This got me to the point where I'd got the ratios about right, the number of machines you need. And since then I've been trying to package it down into a smaller footprint build. And this is what I've ended up with. So the design looks something like this. The oil comes in, and this is a full line of oil. I'm using the creative mode bottomless pit of oil module here. I've put it through a pump. In the real world you'd have a pump taking oil from probably a station full of fluid tanks. So I've put a pump here and documented on the concrete that there is an input with the hazard concrete. Let's just be consistent with the others. There we are. Okay, so these hazards are to mark incoming and outgoing fluid lines. So the raw crude comes in here. It goes into a stack of refineries. Now notice they've got 3 efficiency modules and they're fully speed beaconed. So they produce heavy oil, light oil and petroleum, and that then goes off to the side to this little fluid bus out here. And there's just a stack of these things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 of them. I was told on the forums that you needed 10, but I think that was without productivity modules. Anyway, if I had a 15th one, then it runs dry because there isn't enough petroleum coming in. So 15 is more than can be used. 14 is the right amount to keep them going full time, consuming all of the incoming petroleum. So you also have to supply these with water, and the refining doesn't actually use a great deal of water, but by the time you've got 14 machines stacked end to end, it's enough that it needs a dedicated line of water coming in. So the products come out to this side, to the fluid bus. Then we go up over the top with our heavy oil, and the heavy oil comes down into this array of 3 heavy to light cracking chemical factories, chemical plants. So if you put 2 of these on, then the 2 run full time without any of them browning out. You can see one of these is often browning out. It's getting a red light, which is not enough input materials. But it's worth having the 3rd one there because 2 do not quite consume all of the heavy oil. So you need the 3rd one to consume that last bit of heavy oil. So then the heavy oil here gets cracked into light oil and pushed into a light oil feed. And then the light oil from the refinery gets sent under the bottom and back up the other way up the pipe to be cracked into petroleum. So cracking again requires water, and cracking actually requires quite a lot of water. So here is a setup where there is a single line of water coming in and it's shared between cracking and refining. And you can see there's a lot of red dancing around here, and there are refineries which are going amber. Amber means they can't get rid of their output product. And in this case, they can't get rid of their light oil output product because there's not enough light oil cracking. So here, when you add a second line of water, so there's a dedicated line of water to cracking and a dedicated line of water to refining, that is actually enough to keep both of them going. Now you still get one or two of these browning out occasionally, but again, if you remove one of these, then the light oil starts to back up. So we've got just enough overproduction here, overcapacity. So to make this work, you need 2 water inputs, your crude input, and then 1 petroleum output. Right, so let's see how well we're doing. Let's deconstruct this one here, which is with the single line of water, so isn't working at peak efficiency. Let's kill that. There it goes. Okay, and then this one is running tickety-boo. Production, fluids, and so you probably can't see the numbers very easily there, but basically we're doing about 160, sorry, we need the numbers to drop off because we were running 2 refineries. Let's wait a moment for that to go all the way off the end of the graph. It's going to take a minute because it's a minute-long graph. Nearly there, and we're there. Okay, so the numbers here are that we're using a 110 k per minute of water. We are producing about 110 k of petroleum, so that matches 1 for 1. We're consuming 80 k of crude. We're producing 58 k of light and 10 k of heavy, and rather nicely we're consuming 58 k of light and 10 k heavy. So we're doing all right. We are producing a sensible amount of petroleum here just with the one array. So the plan, I think, is going to be for me to stamp out some of these guys in a nice empty area of my frontier map and to supply them with fluid wagons and possibly even take away the products with fluid wagons. So it would just be a site that turns crude into petroleum. It doesn't do any lube processing or anything. It's just to get petroleum. That petroleum would then be turned into plastics primarily. And that's it really. So that's the end of my creative mode play with fluids. If you have better designs, then I'm all ears. There is the other option of having dedicated refinery sites for processing crude into its products, and then sites for processing the products. So loading the heavy and light oil into wagons and training those off to somewhere where you can set up, you know, nicely balanced, consuming an entire pipe full of fluid setups. But this looks like it's going to work fine for me, and I think the next thing is to work out how many fluid wagons of petroleum are needed to keep one of these guys running 24/7. Well, thank you very much, and hope to see you again soon.